Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to another Lost to Plots video. Yes, you are looking at the four of us once again. We're making quite a good habit of this, gentlemen.
Yeah, we've done all right, actually.
Yeah, we have done all right. I said in our Avatar review that me and Tom did that it's quite hard to get us all round a table, but I think we've managed it a fair few times in the last couple of months.
Bit of a squish, but we get there.
Well done. Well done. Round of applause for us. And this video that we bring you today is our review of 2022, but specifically film. There is going to be another review of 2022 that we're going to base off TV and series. We've already released our awards ceremony, which is an absolute spectacle. A feast for the eyes, mate.
A treat if you have not seen it already.
Yeah.
It's probably more fun making it.
Definitely.
For some people.
Yeah. Yeah. It was enjoyable nonetheless. There will be a bloopers video released of that with an absolutely superb blooper of our main man, James. But
You're bloody welcome.
That'll be released in time. So let's get on with today's video and our review of 2022, mainly based on film. So last year, we did it and we had a list and we list all of the films that we watched because we only really watched 10, 11, 13
Getting into the
films.
swing of things.
Yeah,
weren't
just
we,
just
lads?
just warming up.
More to the point, it was a weak year.
It was a weak year as well. And this year we're not quite able to do that because myself, I've watched 45 films. Tom, how many have you watched?
I don't know.
I've tallied up so between
You
us,
probably
we're
like
roughly
what's
the
about to say.
same. I think we've got 22 on here on
20.
our list.
So James watched 22, Matt
17.
17. So
So
we're
I'm
not
letting the side down a little bit.
Yeah, well, it don't matter.
Still a lot.
still a lot, and we're
For
not
1 year.
We're not going to sit here and do a tier list. So what we decided to do is we're each going to have our best three, worst three, have a little chat, and then we're going to have time at the end for some honourable mentions that we obviously want to talk about, but won't have time in our best three and worst three. Okay, so should be a nice chilled out video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say video as well. This will be on any services you find podcasts. Also,
Yeah, that's a thing now.
that is a thing now that we are trying to do and put forward.
Because look, we've got microphones.
We have
Yeah.
got microphones, as you now see.
Plural.
We're slowly improving.
We're getting there.
Slowly improving. Right, Matt.
Yes.
Well, shall we all do best three first? Let's start on a
Start
positive.
on them, yeah.
Because we're always good at finishing on negatives,
Indeed.
especially if you watch
We'll
our
probably
Avatar
matter on
video.
about them a bit more anyway, won't we?
Yeah, that's very
We are,
true.
men.
We are men. This is true. Matt, start us off. Best three films you've watched this year.
So, as you'll probably not be surprised by,
Yeah.
but to be fair, it is a top tier film, I think, anyway. I think a lot of people would agree that The Batman is a quality film, and that has been my favourite film of the year.
Yep.
My second favourite film of the year is The Northman,
Ooh.
and my third favourite film is The Menu, that released late this year. It snuck in there at the last minute.
Yeah,
Do you know
it
what?
really did.
Two films. I knew you liked The Northman, but I didn't realise it'd be that high on your list.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
I was just-
both 2 and 3, I didn't expect them to be there.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we're happy that it's
Oh,
something
yeah.
different. Should we talk about The Batman a little bit?
Yeah.
Since is it number one spot, I'm guessing?
It is
Yeah,
number one,
100%. I think, and we did a whole review on this. We don't need to spend time on it, but I think it was excellent. I was the most disappointed.
You were.
I was the most disappointed than you guys,
I
but
thought you were going to love it as well.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I was going to be the most disappointed because I was like, I think I was really expecting a lot.
yeah.
I'm with Matt on this one, to be honest. It probably could par on the top spot with one of the other films for me because it was the one I was most excited for this year as well.
Yeah.
I
think it's just got this, like, it tries to do something different with the superhero genre rather than keep it the same formulaic type of film, and I appreciate that a lot more about it. But also the tone that Matt Reeves goes for in this film just is the character to a T, and it works for this film, I think, perfectly. Well, it's not a perfect film, but the tone is perfect for this film.
Close to perfect in your eyes, anyway, and that's the whole point. And no doubt we'll talk about the Northman, especially with a specific person sat around this table, anyway. but again, I think 3 solid films. I've not watched The Menu, but I've seen clips, and
Very good.
I've seen good things. And Ralph Fiennes, it's very rare that he's in a tin pot film.
Do you know what? Just being honest,
So it's-
it's probably lower on my list, The Menu, because it just wasn't. Well, I don't know what I was expecting from it, and it just didn't quite hit the mark for me. I can see why everyone's loving it.
I think what made
It's
it so
great.
good for me is because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as that sort of
Yeah,
thing. I
right,
just thought it
yeah.
would be like a mediocre type film, where because the premise is kind of like is the trailer just shows them.
You
on this
understand
island,
the
and
setup straight away,
yeah. Before going in, you kind of get the gist of what's going on, but the intrigue throughout the film kept me like glued to it the whole way through, and I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
Fair play, man.
Nice, solid top 3.
Mm.
I must admit, I like it. Right, I'm going to go next then, since we'll work our way around the
Might as
table.
well,
Might
yeah.
as well, yeah. 'Cause since we're here, my best 3 films that I watched this year is number 1 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you've watched the award ceremony, heavy hitter, massive heavy hitter, ran away with 3 awards in total
indeed.
from our ceremony, and it is no surprise to people if you've watched any of our videos how highly we rate it, especially myself. Number 2 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Sensational film. Purely just because of the fact that I thoroughly enjoyed the writing of it. I thought it was well written. There's weak characters and there's pointless scenes in it, but ultimately I found it a lot funnier than I thought, and it's actually quite a clever film, which is a film within a film, which I really enjoyed. And who doesn't love Nick Cage? I mean, it's a film to celebrate his achievements, and I feel like he did that really well. I mean, you've watched it, haven't you? And yeah.
It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be really well, just because it was based on him playing himself. It's just kind of one of them films that you just expect to be bad.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's really good.
daft.
Yeah,
sort of
well,
idea
it
of
had the potential for being really, really bad, but I feel like it did really well. And Pedro Pascal was really, really good in it. I thought it was the best character in the whole thing. There's one of the funniest scenes in film that I've ever seen in that film. Easily, I was crying at it. And in 3rd place is Elvis, the biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann. I don't know if any of you have seen it, have you?
Seen it,
I don't like Elvis.
No, which I
can't.
I can completely understand and respect, but it was genuinely fantastic, and it was made so good because Austin Butler, I think people have seen, has put everything into this role, and he did an amazing job, and I feel like it's one of the best biopics to be released, especially with the angle that they went from in criticising Colonel Tom Parker as much as they did,
Right, yeah.
and really showing how he financially manipulated him. So I don't think that's been something that's explored, but Elvis, I feel like was superb, like really, really, really good. I'd very much advise you guys to watch it.
I do want to see it.
It's good, and Baz Luhrmann. It's going to be eccentric. It's going to be
Yeah, but I think it needed to be
pizzazzy
for well,
obvious
the
reasons.
character of Elvis, basically. 'cause it's-
Yeah, definitely. It did a fantastic job of that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, that's my best 3 films of 2022. James.
Well, as I've already mentioned, I'm with Matt on the Batman. That's
Number 1.
Well, not. It's on a par, really. Like I said, that was the one I was most excited for, and it was everything I sort of wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So it can sit on the top spot with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
because,
Yeah.
As we've already said, it's just completely knocked us all over, that one. It was the most insane thing I've ever watched, but. Well, they just did a multiverse movie, right, didn't they?
They did
if
it
you're gonna do
so
it,
well.
that's how you do it, lads.
So well, and I feel like the exposition in it was so subtle.
Yeah.
That it made sense where it was placed. Like, I feel sometimes, especially with because we're comparing it to Doctor Strange, obviously, they didn't really explain much of it, and I feel like
It
with
wasn't
that
the
it
main-
leaves it ambiguous.
It
for
wasn't
us
the
as an
main
audience.
focus of the film. I didn't feel. It was still about them as people.
Yeah.
And their whole family situation, and the way it all played out.
Yeah.
It was just. It didn't focus on this whole wow, look at what we're doing. We're going through the multiverse and all this mad crazy
Yeah.
shit.
Definitely.
It was just more centered on them, and that was just around them to sort of help create the story. Let's say.
No,
Or give it
definitely.
a bit more.
Definitely.
And
And
that-
use both to bring out the best in each
Yeah,
side of it.
exactly.
Basically.
It was
It was brilliant. And the acting, superb.
incredible.
And to be fair, Batman, the acting in that
Oh,
was
yeah.
sensational. Like we've not picked up on that from when you mentioned it, but Paul Dano, Robert Pattinson,
Incredible, yeah.
Jeffrey Wright. I feel like they all did a fantastic
And
job. Colin
Do
Farrell,
not forget the stool pigeon.
the stool pigeon. Yeah,
Favourite line in any movie of all years.
sensational. Third
Third one
spot.
is a film that just took me by surprise because I didn't know what I was going into walking into the cinema. He basically goes, "Do you want to come and see this on a Monday night?" And I was like, "Bugger it, why not? I've got nothing else to do." And it was Decision to Leave.
Yeah, you guys mentioned that quite a lot, and the Instagram story, if you follow us on Instagram, was pretty
Yeah.
spectacular as well. I feel.
Yeah. It was,
I had no expectation walking in. I had no idea what it was about. Like I said, he just goes, "Do you want to see this?" And I was like, "Why not?" And oh my god, it just knocked my socks off.
Nice and quick for us.
Yeah.
What is it about? Because I've never heard of it until you guys mentioned it, and now I want to watch it from how.
I'm gonna let you tell
Hype.
us because I feel you'll
yeah.
sort of
Well,
explain it better than I ever will.
it is basically a murder investigation.
Oh, okay.
So you got a detective, and really your main character is a detective, and then a victim and a suspect depend on in the different situations of what the story rolls into, and yeah, it is. I mean, it's a lot. It's a light-hearted. Almost, it is a romance, but just to sum it up as one of these is really difficult to do. Like even just murder mystery, that's your main premise to just like strap you in to go. But throughout, as much as it succeeds in that, and it really does, because it's like Park Chan, the director, who's done a lot of the, like say his Vengeance trilogy. It's like you got like heavy sort of topics, but then also just brutal violence, and then to take that sort of bones where you don't have to go that far, and it really doesn't in this film because that's not what this film is. But then marry it up with just like really just solid drama, and then this really obscure sort of charming romance story throughout.
Oh, nice.
But
Just hooked all the way through, straight away from the beginning. It was like, okay, wow, okay, this is what's happening, and then the way it just sort of rolls on and on. It's quite a long film as well, but it really doesn't
I feel like it.
it was
they're
like,
the best.
When you realise, I was like, Christ, we've been sat in there forever.
They're the best. I feel like this year
Insane.
long films have been released, and to be fair, 2021 as well. Long films have been released that felt long,
Yeah.
whereas a good film goes quickly. And I mean, that's common knowledge to people, and it Christ, that doesn't take us to tell you that, but just to really reinforce that idea that it is a solid film. I like that. A good
Really
top
worth
three, and I'm gonna say I really want to watch it from what you guys have said about it. I feel like it's something that I need to expose myself to, and bring us round to Thomas at the end of the table. What you got for us in your top three?
Well, you've already teased everyone. I may as well start with the number one spot, which is The Northman.
Yeah, obviously. Robert Eggers.
I was really looking forward to that film anyway. So I feel like at that point I was probably going to be more critical of it. But I mean, I loved it. I mean, I can understand things I've seen afterwards. Like, I don't tend to try and like pick up on too much critique or interviews or anything. I try and go in as just unedited and blind as I can to anything, especially even afterwards. Like, I just want either my enjoyment to be that, or just to figure out why I might not like something. But hearing, say, Robert Eggers, like, he's mainly done like his smaller films, sort of obviously like smaller budget, then sort of almost be critical of being part of a bigger production.
Yeah.
Obviously, the benefits completely outweighed the risks of it. But it's one of those ones you can't see him doing another thing as big as that.
Yeah.
Just for his own sort of artistic choices, but maybe not. But you can understand that watching it. It seems like it's not quite just his film, but the fact it doesn't suffer in that is such a big win in my eyes. In the fact that the rest of his films, I can't see half the audience that went to see The Northman, which probably isn't that many people still.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Still wouldn't look at his other films twice. They wouldn't bother.
I feel like his films aren't promoted or advertised quite as much as the Northman was, because I feel like this one was really pushed into sort of the mainstream media, and it even got to a point where, so example, my mum and dad watched it, and I spoke to all of you about it. My mum spoke to you today about it in quite some detail. She hated it purely because of the fact that it wasn't a typical Viking revenge story where they've got big battles and big armies and all of this. It was quite subtle and stylistic.
I mean, I'm sort of like, I'm into the sort of historical nerdy stuff, but that's not something I'm going to be too picky about. But from that side, I'd look at it and just be like, I mean, because it's a story of a story. It's like a retelling of like, so it's just, in that respect, it's sort of like if you're talking that sort of cultural historical side, I almost couldn't fault it.
Yeah.
And then as a normal film, then maybe I'd rate it a little bit lower.
Yeah, yeah.
But then just my personal interests have combined that. It's just had to give it the top spot.
No, fair play. Right, let's do 2 and 3 then, because I feel like we've not given The Northman much love, really. To be fair, even the award ceremony, it was nominated a few times. Didn't really talk
to be fair,
about
it's
it.
probably my next one after my top 3.
Yeah,
it's probably one of the next ones.
It's up there. It's up there for me as well. Right, 2, 3.
It always changes.
As it will always change.
The top 5 have just been chaotic. But I mean, 2's got to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, because it's just
beautiful.
They're so interchangeable. There's barely anything separating a lot of these top choices. And yeah, I mean, we've definitely said enough about it, but not that we could.
Sensational. Watch it, please.
And number 3, it is the Batman, because they're always, like I say, these ones were just so close. There was just so much. I mean, that's to me, it's like, I don't even think I went on about this too much in our review nearly a year ago. It's just it comes back to this, like the tone that we're talking about, but it's just Gotham. It's just this, like, and that's one of the biggest draws for me with not only Batman but DC is this. I sort of go, if the Marvel DC fight, one of the weird sort of simple directions I tend to go is the fact that I love Marvel because it's basically like, oh, this is the world you're living in, plus all of this stuff.
Yeah.
DC's just like, oh yeah, this isn't quite like where you are, but that's why a lot of people find that more relatable and recognisable as their world. And then Marvel, they might think is a load of rubbish, even though that it's depicting our physical world.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just got the sense of Gotham, and obviously that combines into Batman just so well. It's just like you could I don't know, you could just smell it. It was just
you could
grim.
smell it. Yeah, it was a grim state of affairs, but like, they encapsulated Gotham superbly. I thought really captured the
nice contrast to, like, say, the Dark Knight trilogy, because I always found that so vast and so clean looking, and then like you're saying, it was just that grimness.
Yeah,
it just made a nice sort of separation.
It was refreshing.
From that.
Yeah, refreshing.
I mean,
definitely.
like, point being, with like all my top choices, these things. It's like the Northman being top. That took some time, and it's like it's all come down to these top choices being the ones that have had the staying power and they've come back. It's like saying The Menu. Like, it was only later end of last year, but I probably didn't have a massive reaction when I watched it. But all of a sudden, like the points I really liked about it have only grown since watching it. And the negatives just seem more and more pointless, and they just seem like that's all they are, is just these little nitpicky details that I've pulled out.
Yeah.
So it's these films that have just keep on going. And yeah, The Northman, Everything Everywhere, and Batman are definitely three
Solid.
of those.
Yeah, to be fair, there's similar films for all four of us, to be fair, because they are brilliant films. I suppose if you ask anyone else as well, you'd expect those to be up there regardless if they'd seen them. And now for the bit that might take a little bit longer, because we always love a negative, is the worst.
To be honest, I think we can all team up on a lot of these as well. Probably,
Yeah, we could.
To be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I don't know, because there's a lot of films that we've watched between us, and there's a lot of films that I've not seen that you have, and vice versa. So it's going to be interesting. Because I don't know if I actually know you two guys' bottom three. I know one of yours. I don't know the other two. But all will be exposed shortly. Matthew, start us off. Worst 3 films of 2022.
Okay. Do we want to go worst straight away, or do we want to work down to the worst?
Yeah, so let's work down to the worst.
See, I wish I'd worked to the best last. So yeah, we'll work to the worst. Like,
We'll work to the worst.
Yeah. So the third worst, in my opinion, is Spiderhead. I don't know if anyone would know what that is. That's a Netflix film starring Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller. Is that
Correct. I love Miles Teller as well.
And I watched the trailer for this film on Netflix, scrolling through when I saw these two actors, and I thought this actually looks alright. This is quite intriguing. Like, it's only a short film. Thought stick this on, and I couldn't even really tell you what really happened or how it ends or anything.
No, you're absolutely bang on. The whole film seemed pointless. There was no context to why it was happening.
No,
They were just there in a place doing things.
There was a bit of intrigue, but then when it came around to the ending, it didn't answer anything, and it didn't really end in a satisfying way for anyone.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of just like, well, what a waste of time that was.
Yeah, well, it felt it was a shambles.
That's
It
really
felt
weird,
like
'cause,
such a
like,
waste.
I haven't watched it, and I completely forgot about it. And I think like a lot of people, but at the time, there was like a week or two when it was released. All I heard was people speaking about it.
Good things.
Just because it was like, I think it was pretty much the only thing that was released or something
Was it
on
good
that
things?
specific week, and they were just gotta watch it and all this sort
Was
of
it
stuff.
good things?
Well, yeah, but
Shocking.
it's not people I really
Tin pot
like,
film.
respect or
You know
anything.
what,
Oh,
I've gone
good.
Completely until you guys mentioned it, like
Don't.
whenever. I honestly, it just completely went over my head. I didn't know it was a thing.
Don't watch it.
Yeah.
No, I
Jesus
kinda
Christ!
wanted
If
to
that
Google now.
no, don't. It's
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
not
right.
even funny. It's
It's
just
not even
bad.
that. It's
No.
okay. It's beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, things like that are funny when it's not, like you're saying, it's
It's
not
ridiculous.
artists you respect
Yeah.
or something. You've got like actors like Miles Teller, Chris Hemsworth, and you're just like,
You expect something good, don't you?
Yeah. Right, Matt.
My second worst film of the year is Thor: Love and Thunder. I've not watched like many bad films, to be fair, but I
to be fair, I think
really was disappointed with this one.
If
Whether
you watched
it's
a lot of films,
objectively
it would be
worse than Spiderhead, it's probably not. But in my eyes, it's just a big letdown. and
Two
it took
films
it
with
down.
Chris Hemsworth in as well. It was the third one.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
that's
him
not
in.
looking
Oh
good, is it?
God!
Jeez.
His career's going down the Swanee. If Matt's got anything to do with it, that is anyway.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
he's not had a good run this year. so-
we've spoke about Thor: Love and Thunder quite a lot. We did a review on it, and it's also featured in our award vid.
I think
video.
I was too nice in the review, to be fair.
Oh, do you know
I think
what?
after watching it, straight after watching it, I was seeing the good things because I was thinking about, Christian Bale in it, and I thought, and that was mainly what I spoke about as a good thing. And I can't remember what I gave it, but I think it was about a 6 or something like that. But thinking back, I just don't know. I think I was too nice. I think
I'd agree now.
I
Now
think-
that I've seen other films since, because it was just
Yeah.
like, it's like the only it was for me. It was better than the other Marvel offering at the time. So I was just like, yeah, fine, I'll go with it.
yeah. But the
There
more I
was
thought
points that
about
I
it,
liked
the
in it,
worse
so-
it got, and
yeah.
the more I hated the choices they went with.
Yeah.
And yeah.
even
They've
I've
ruined.
plateaued
Thor.
with it,
Yeah.
which isn't usually a good sign. Like if I just end up with if I end up sort of I'll think about what I think about it, and then all of a sudden it'll just be I'll think the exact same thing, and I think I'll think what I think of it for the rest of my life, which is still like miles better than you three. But
Yeah, definitely.
uh,
Great shout.
Yeah,
And the worst film.
is Disney's remake of Pinocchio.
Directed by Robert Zemeckis, not the Guillermo del Toro
Yeah.
one.
The
That's
direct
amazing.
remake, because it took. I like Pinocchio, you know, the original as a kid. I thought it was a great film. I thought it's got a lot of heart in it. It's got a lot of lessons to be learned.
Clear, relatable messages.
And then you get to this one and you think, just do the same but live action if you're going to do it. But they take away all the heart and all the messages that they put in the original and don't replace them with anything else. So you're just left with it's just the film, but without any emotion or relatability.
I
or
agree with that completely.
learning anything or anything like that. It's just a pointless film. Didn't need to be made.
is it
Tom
long?
Hanks can't save it.
This will segue nicely into my bottom three because that is my third choice for worst film of 2022,
Yeah.
and I'll back you up on that
I've not heard
massively.
anything other than bad things.
It,
About it, to be
it
honest.
looks visual. That it looks like they've put loads into it visually, but the story feels so clunky. There's no sort of like smooth transition from one part to another. It genuinely, and like you've summed it up to a T. It's got no heart involved in it at all. The messages are completely lost in just trying to make something visually pleasing.
They're just filling that gap.
Yeah,
like-
it is. It's absolutely shocking.
The whole thing you associate with Pinocchio. If someone says Pinocchio, you think, you know, the nose. He
The
lies.
lying, the nose grabbing, the
happens-
main feature of
It
it.
happens once in the film, and I think he uses it as a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like it only happens once in the whole film, and he's using it as a positive.
Yeah.
So you're just teaching kids to lie, basically.
No, I completely agree. And in the Guillermo del Toro one, that Pinocchio
is-
dies from lying. So this is
Wow.
stark contrast.
Speaking of Pinocchio, like with it all like two being released in the past year, does anyone remember that one from the 90s where it was like I don't know if it was a puppet or a kid done up in makeup, like to look like Wood effect?
No, I remember you mentioned this
Good
before.
God,
Not.
go and find it. It's the most terrifying looking thing ever.
Keep that
Okay.
Probably not as terrifying as
out
this
of
film.
my mind.
Okay, that's saying a lot. Then. This
That
thing is
and
shit.
Luke Evans is a bit in it. I like Luke Evans,
Mm.
and it was just a shambles. And
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, shambles. Awful
No,
film.
it was alright, but
Yeah,
We've always given it
awful film. I say that's my third spot.
That Luke Evans is in the Pinocchio.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
the coach man.
The coach man. That whole
Like,
Is
part
he
of
the
it's a shambles.
I always
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Disney before everyone with when they started doing the live action, they wanted to push this kind of because he played like Gaston or
Gaston
something. didn't he?
in Beauty and the Beast. Yeah,
Oh, that guy, right.
That-
I think
that
I know
guy.
what you're about.
I like him. He
I just
plays
knew he'd been
Bard
in
The Hobbit.
one of their things, and it's like they're all going to
He's
look
gonna
the
list
same.
his career.
Right. Well, my number 2 spot. I'm going for Firestarter. I don't think anyone has sat around this table
No.
has watched this film.
What is that?
It's,
don't even know what it is,
it's a remake of a Stephen King story, Firestarter, about a girl that's born with powers. But you can't guess what the powers are.
The fiery one.
That's
with,
the one. There you go. Look,
what's it?
Firestarter. Bang on. She's basically an arsonist that trains to be an arsonist.
Zach.
Zac Efron. That's the one. Yeah, I was getting
Yeah,
there
that's
anyway.
one. Zac Efron. It's an absolute shambles.
Mm.
The first 30 seconds, the sort of like intro, it's really intriguing. I'm like, okay, this looks a bit edgy. It looks quite
Trailer
dark.
looked cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was like,
No, shambles. Acting's terrible from all fronts. The story just seems really, really pointless. Like there's no sort of real end to it, so to speak. It's done Stephen King no favours whatsoever. I hated every second of it. I gave it a 3. It's worse than that.
I remember you coming back from the cinema, I think, and it was just sheer, like, it just a sense of the anger.
Yeah,
off
there
you
was.
from having to have sat through it.
Yeah.
Now that you've said, it,
A lot.
I remember it. It
A
was,
lot of anger. It just seemed that the film had no direction,
Hmm.
and all that the source material is there. Stephen King, it's a successful story nonetheless. Do you know what I mean? And they've absolutely butchered the life out of it. It's shocking.
I've got the book.
Stylistically, awful. Oh yeah,
It was genuinely one of those ones where, like, don't judge a book by its cover, I tend to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I was like, oh, this looks good.
Yeah, I genuinely, it's terrible. The actual main person, Charlie, I think her name is, the child. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. It's terrible. Zac Efron's character is stupid. Just all of it. And the worst film
Yeah.
is Benediction. Again, no one around this table
Another
would have
one I
seen
forgot
it.
that you did.
I was quite excited because it explored the life of Siegfried Sassoon, the famous poet that fought in World War One. Shocking, genuinely the most boring film I've ever seen that glorified so many things that shouldn't have been glorified. If you actually told them truthfully and correctly, it would have been far more engaging, but in fact it wasn't. There was no sort of real link to the poetry and the actual inspiration behind it. Siegfried Sassoon was such an inspirational person in the war, and he did so many amazing things when he was there, which aren't touched upon at all. The only intriguing bit is where he's complaining to his commanding officers about the war, and you think, okay, this is going to be good. This is where he's going to sort of build that point and the base of his poetry and that criticism of the war, and it just never did that. Siegfried Sassoon was basically a man whore that slept with every man possible. Which was completely the wrong story that needs to be told, in my opinion.
Is that not what you wanted to see?
No, I wanted to see the inspiration behind his poetry.
Yeah, no.
I'm fine with relationships and love story. Brilliant, tell them if they impact your poem. The bit with Wilfred Owen was really cute. I liked that because they had a connection, a strong connection, and that impacted his poetry. I didn't mind that, but the rest of it, tell you what, take a blanket and a pillow if you want to go watch it. You want to get to sleep easy, go and watch Benediction. That's me done. I don't want to talk about it anymore. James, please.
Right. Okay, so we're building up.
We're building down.
Third worst. When I actually look at my list, I've not really seen that many crap films this year. It's been alright, I thought. So, as you were saying, with Thor, it's got Love and Thunder's got to take that third worst spot because, yeah, I enjoyed it at the time because it was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this film. I honestly thought it was going to be great, and I think I did the same thing that I did with the Star Wars sequels. It was like, well, I like this property so much. I want to have something to hold on to. Don't want to let it go yet. And I just don't think I was accepting the fact that since Endgame, it's really not tickling the pickle anymore. They tried on some things. Some things I like still. I like Gore and actually seeing like Jane become Mighty Thor. I've been looking forward to that since she was introduced in the first film. I was like, she's a really cool comic character. But yeah, the more I've thought about it and dwelled on it over the year, there's been way better films. There's been a better Marvel film, and
that emphasis on a.
Yeah. So yeah, when I look at the actual list of everything else I've got, it's just no way near anything I've seen.
No.
So yeah, Matt put it best. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, it is,
quite frankly, that is the best way to describe it.
And I think you bang on with what you said in the fact that the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And for us, definitely that is the case. And like the review we did, and when it's a fresh review, which that wasn't it? Pretty much the day after that we did it, you sort of are blind to a lot of things because you're caught up in the build up.
Yeah.
But then when things settle, and in our case a good few months, it's a travesty.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I might have said this in the review, but there's a moment in the film where Gore kidnaps a bunch of kids and Thor
I think you did.
turns around and makes a joke.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just took me out of it. And I was like, he just wouldn't do that. Like
No.
that literally all the children of Asgard are missing and he just doesn't give a monkey's.
Such a weird, yeah.
He doesn't.
Like the point they leave him on in the sort of like Infinity War Endgame, actually as a character, and then to flip it round this way, it's like, none of it just really makes sense. I appreciate the fact that on its own, it's not connected to the whole multiverse bollocks that's going on and that they're trying to build up around. I appreciate the fact that they literally just went, this is sort of its
I was
own
massively
story.
surprised it was a separate story.
Because I thought,
It's
it
the
could
one-
definitely tie into that.
I'll bring a lot of positives to people, but like that's the only one like I'll bring to people that are dead against it. Because the rest of them, I'm not going to try and convince you. That's the one bit where I'll say, because it's just like, well,
Yeah,
You
that
agree
was
on
that was probably the best part of
Nice.
it overall.
Right, number 2.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
The Way
My
of Water.
God. Just 13 years and then we just get the same bloody film, but they just get a bit wet. Why? Right. Why do you give us 10 minutes of a lad swimming with this bloody whale? Well, borderline 15 minutes probably. It felt like a fucking age. Then have 10 minutes of him going back to his brothers and sisters going, I'm mates with a whale now. And it's them having to have a whole bloody discussion about it, which doesn't really go anywhere.
I'm mates with a whale now.
That is pretty much
what he
what
says,
happens.
is it?
And then
I bonded with the whale.
I haven't seen it.
he goes back and has another 10 minutes swimming with the whale. And I'm pretty sure at one point they used 2 of the exact same shots that they used in the previous half hour from whenever it come up.
Wow.
James Cameron,
It's for the
just-
4D effects.
we get it. We get it. You like the sea. Alright?
I have a mate who
Don't-
went to go watch it in 4DX and he said it was awful because he was just getting sprayed with water the whole time. Genuinely.
Did not have a like fucking take
And he
a
said-
snorkel. Like,
Brilliant.
like,
He was,
He's
so
got
the
his
seat was
flippers.
constantly moving, so you couldn't really concentrate or get comfy, and the popcorn was going everywhere. And then
Why
it was
would you put
constantly-
yourself through that
What?
to go see any
Mate.
I
film?
don't know. I
to be fair,
didn't
it's
think he thought it was going to be that bad.
There is a reason why James Cameron won Shithouse of the Year on
Yeah.
our awards, because he's absolutely done everyone over.
It was the longest 3.5, however bloody long hours of my life.
And sorry, carry on.
Sorry, yeah, having to sit in those bloody leather chairs for that long. My God, my back was so itchy afterwards. I can't be doing with it.
We
There's
have
no need. It should be an hour and a half, not 3.5 hours.
we have done a review, but it was just me and Tom.
also this, yeah.
It
And
angers me
this
so much.
this is the reason why it was just me and Tom, because Matt doesn't give two monkeys about it because he refused to watch it
Can I just-
basically, and James gets like this when we talk about it, and we couldn't have that really.
surprised
Just
it's
one
not
big
number
point.
one, to be
One big
fair.
point. 'Cause this is great. Why do they justify it saying, yeah, we're going back to Pandora because we've killed Earth and we need somewhere new to live? Why are you going to Pandora where you can't breathe the air? It's inhospitable. Go find another planet. Did you not realise this 13 fucking years ago?
Let's not talk about the fact that they've already lost one battle.
Yeah, you get it. You can't win against them guys, and sorry,
Them
you
guys.
can't breathe the air. I can't remember what they were called.
The Na'vi.
Navi, thank you.
It's an apostrophe somewhere.
Na'vi.
Oh,
What's your worst
I'm
film,
gonna say,
James? Jesus.
That's
I
only
can't believe
middle
he's
spot.
put this below Avatar.
What
to be
takes
fair.
top spot?
I know what it is.
Doctor fucking Strange in the multiverse of bloody
Jesus
mess.
wept. You really didn't like that film, did
No,
you?
and if anything, like I've really tried to like Doctor Strange since he was introduced. What was that? 2016 now.
Yeah.
It's
To
a
be fair, I
good
think
old while.
That's one of your biggest.
And it probably is the one thing that really sticks the knife in with this one. I just cannot like the character at all. I don't know. I don't even know if they're trying to make him likeable in any way. But if he's going to be like one of these the big boys now
Yeah.
in the Avengers, do something different with him for a start. He's really not. Let's face it. He's not going to take Cap's place or Downey Jr.'s place now, is he?
No,
he's no way near them. Don't just use it because it's Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, we've said this, haven't we? And I've said it numerous times, especially to you guys and Matt. He's not a big character in the MCU. I don't give a
He
a
just
toss
doesn't have
about
any
the
weight
comics.
behind it,
No,
does he?
in the actual MCU, there is no weight behind him. He just feels like a character that it's good at times, but to be an actual main character like the big hitters, I just don't think he has it in him, and he's not written that way. To
Well, that's
be
the beauty of it,
that
and I think that's
character.
why, whether you like what they've done with Scarlet Witch, be it in her own story, but like particularly in this movie as well, because anything they've done with her has basically led to this same point. you take characters like that. The beauty of it is that they're not these go-to heroes that are these main, what you'd consider the main sort of core of it. That's where you've got such, or you should have such freedom to come up with stuff, but they haven't. And in a movie, Multiverse of Madness, you think they can really push the boat out. And
it just
didn't
didn't do anything.
Really
did it?
I think it's down to it being poorly written as well, because what you say, Shang-Chi, I thought was brilliant, and I can't wait to see Shang-Chi again, like in cinemas. And that's someone new that they did something a little bit different with, which was actually engaging. Whereas I don't feel like they've really done much with Doctor Strange, or enough.
Felt again like with the whole multiverse thing to me. Again, like with the whole Spider-Man situation, you all know where I stand on that.
Yeah.
It just feels like such a cash grab every time, because it's like throwing the Illuminati in and all, like, oh, look at these guys. They don't do anything to the story. They're just there.
Yeah.
The whole multiverse thing was sold as, oh look, we're going to go all these places, and what do they do? You see him scream through about 10 for 10 seconds, and then they go to maybe 2 or 3. At which point, all of his variants are played by him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least fair play to him with Spider-Man, they got all the variants of different people. Like, you'd think that at least...
Well,
it
it cheapened both in the sense where it just goes, oh, we're just showing that these are actors.
Is cheap anyway.
And then, I don't know.
What were you going to add, Matt?
I agree that they've ruined his character in this film, because while I didn't hate this film, I thought it was alright, but mainly because of Scarlet Witch, not because of
It wasn't his film, really.
Doctor
in the
Strange.
end, was it?
I liked the horror elements to it and the villain they used, but yeah, it wasn't Doctor Strange that took the limelight in this film, and I feel like he peaked. Same with Thor in Infinity War, because they wrote the character really well in that. And then since then they've just kind of declined. So it's mainly to do with the writing, and it's very sloppy as well, this film.
Yeah. It feels like as well there was sort of with the whole thing being the multiverse sort of saga as the next few films or whatever. It felt like this was supposed to be that one that really kicks it all off, hence the title. And to me, it didn't really do anything because they didn't really touch on that. It was like, oh no, he's just stuck there for a bit. It doesn't feel like it's actually done anything in the grand scheme of things. I don't feel like it's going to make many ripples in the overarching story of everyone, is it really?
No.
When you think about it, it was just like, oh, he's in a bit of bother. Yeah, he's back home now. Just got another eye.
2 Marvel films in James's bottom 3. Unbelievable.
They've really shat themselves. They really have. I'm really trying, and I want to love them, but I'll be honest, since Endgame, I'm really struggling.
Yeah.
Wait till we get to the TV shows.
Yeah, Christ. That's another video in itself. Right, Tom, bring us home. Try and keep it choppy.
A few different, bit of a different flavour, but again, I think pretty much everything I've seen, I've not seen bad films. It took me a lot to be like, this is the worst film because it's terrible. Third place would be Don't Worry Darling.
Ooh.
Which,
no, I'm not.
When I watched it, I'd have thought, oh yeah, there's going to be plenty that I'm going to like this. It's going to stay where it is.
This psychological drama.
But I still stand to like, it's one of those things where I say it the opposite is, I talked about the menu, how my good points got better. With this, it's like the negatives just seem like so glaringly obvious. It's like it is one of these things where it's like, oh, a teenager's probably going to be like, oh, this is weird. Or like not even a teenager really, just like someone getting into weirder films is just going to be like, oh yeah, you got to see this. This is like, this is just cool. This is dark. This is weird. This is messed up. But it's never pushed far enough for it to be engaging enough for me. It's just like it's a bit.
It was mild.
It was a bit of a sort of like.
No,
really,
it was a bit of like an art project, sort of like school project
Yeah.
sort of thing, where it's like, it had all the budget, it had all the names, and I think that just comes from, I don't know, but I'm not going to say it's like Olivia Wilde and all the people she knows and stuff, but it just seemed like the cast really great. Everyone did
Except for one.
yeah.
Dublin Harry Styles.
Everyone doing sort of like a good job, but with what they had, and they didn't have a lot to work with. I think any of the more obscure bits just didn't get enough time to become something
Yeah.
fresh and different.
I
It
agree.
could. It was basically. I'd have got more out of this if it was a Black Mirror episode or something,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah,
basically the
Yeah, it's
premise.
what-
Was
Yeah, you're right. And
Um,
for a film that is a very much standalone film, like with no
Yeah,
sequels or
yeah.
anything, I felt there was far too many questions that went unanswered that you could have actually
yeah.
made the film more interesting by exploring them. Like Frank, for
And-
one,
and-
like that, I
yeah.
felt like for him being sort of the main
That's a good
antagonist
point,
in the
actually.
film, he wasn't explored enough at all.
Yeah.
Like there was so much intrigue and so much possibility, but then nothing developed, and he just got shot or stabbed. I can't remember. but I was
It
like,
made
what,
this.
what?
It made that sort of like, well, not the climax of it, but not necessarily this whole twist of it, but the kind of triumph of it at the end, sort of the main bit at the end, where it all sort of fell apart. It cheapened that in my mind.
Yeah.
I think it's meant to look kind of bold and empowering and stuff, but it just,
You watched it, man?
like I say, it's just a bit.
No,
No.
don't bother.
It's just a bit weak. But I mean, the visuals can't fault can't fault the whole, like. I mean, just me personally, it's like
That's-
you're picking mid-century sort of Florence in like mid-century outfit.
Sorry,
Yeah.
to build on that point. Films now, we're in a position where films should be visually brilliant. So, I respect what you're saying, but I also think that should be a given, especially when the budget of this film would have been ridiculous as well.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
But,
So
it
saying
comes
it's
into,
visually good, that's an expectation from me with the cast, the production, the budget of it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean,
So
it
not to belittle what you've just said, but it's a load of trot.
it can be an it can be an expectation, like all of these things, but you're just never gonna get it.
Right, number 2, Thomas.
It's another probably a surprise, but it's Lightyear. But
Thank you. I'm so
Which
happy
again-
with that.
it's a film I liked. It's just that's basically where it began and end. Just
Nice.
It's just no need for it. It's
Thank
just
you
there,
for
isn't
that.
it?
Pretty
Do
much,
you know
I
what? I was disappointed with this film. Sorry, I'll be very quick. And a lot of people quite enjoyed it, and I was like, carry on.
No, I mean I pretty much did. Like, but that is the sum total of what I feel about it. I think, especially with some of the minor storylines that they brought into it, particularly at the start, you thought, well, that's basically where any of the sort of heart was in it. Which in any of these films, any of the Disney sort of Pixar films, kids films, it's this sort of connection, how you deal with big, massive things, but you're trying to translate that to really accessible, on a really accessible platform
Yeah.
for all audiences, and it's just like then it just becomes sort of just more of just a gap filler and just something to distract the attention sort of
It'd
thing.
be like a Saturday morning cartoon series of relatively weak episodes
Yeah.
that they've just gone
Yeah.
together, and that makes a movie.
Yeah, definitely.
They could
I'd
have
agree with
easily
that.
just gone really just stupidly daft, and even if
Oh, yeah.
because if they were gonna not make this kind of,
I think that's the way they should have gone, because there was elements of
It
this
could
where they
have just
tried
been
to make it
hilarious,
far
it's
too
just like-
serious.
yeah,
And I'm
it
like,
was one
what?
way. It was
what you
very
doing?
tip too
Yeah.
too far, like one way or the other.
Yeah. Like, there were
Um,
times where it was ridiculous, but then other times where they tried to be too serious. Stick with it being ridiculous,
just-
because
it
you would have
just ended-
benefited so much more from it.
You end up with something quite grey.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that's the film Andy watched and went, Buzz Lightyear's the man.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy that toy.
Yeah, and where that comes from, then
That
it's
whole
just
idea,
like
yeah.
it'd be more like if that's meant to be a live action movie that he watched, because that seems to be more like what's being implied.
Yeah. That is the purpose of this film.
It's like
That was marketed.
that would be more like, because it was almost trying to show it as like these things like Star Wars and these other big movies and stuff. Yeah,
What takes number 1?
well, it's Avatar.
Woo!
Which, yeah, I wouldn't. the whole year, because we literally did wait the whole year to get to that point.
Ruined me Christmas.
And I think with that,
Oh dear.
anyone that had the slightest interest in, there's still that expectation. Like that's one of the biggest selling points and why it's still made so much money is because people are expecting something. And a lot of mine just comes down to, it's like my problems with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a lot higher up in my list, even though it changes all the time. But with that on the visual side, that's a big draw for those kind of films where you got so much to work with. Actually getting that translated across on the final product, I don't mind if I'm just sitting there amazed, not bothered about the story, just literally just getting so much happening and some real sort of just like big moments. It just felt like there wasn't. I think so. That's why my biggest criticisms aren't, they're just in the same thing, because they did, but there was, I don't expect this complex sort of story from them, but I want the very best of all this design, all this artwork, all this time that's come into it to actually go somewhere.
Yeah.
And they just sort of
The whole thing
covered it up.
Disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's so disappointing. And
It's a waste of bloody time.
Yeah, James covered a lot of it, and we've covered a lot of it, Tom, talking about it. And the overriding feeling is it's disappointing. There are aspects of it that are good, and but
I don't like blaming directors for things, but they obviously take that choice on when they want their name attached to this film that they've made. And yeah, James just peaked at
Titanic.
Aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah, just keep going back.
Further and further into the abyss of James Cameron's
The fact
career.
Sigourney can't save this.
No.
Says a lot.
I mean,
They all did their best with what they've got, but again,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not
not a fat lot.
No.
Not a fat lot. And yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone can argue really. I mean, there's a lot of people that argue your points, but I'm on your side. I have had many of argument with people about it, because it is, in my opinion, an absolute trash fest, to say the least.
And I think when so many other films and so many other films this year, I know we're finally getting so much more, like we're saying, compared to last year, which there wasn't much on offer. So many films not getting the time of day. We come back to say like The Northman, which obviously I'm praising and stuff, and praising the fact it got loads more attention in terms of how much it was pushed. But then likewise, you look at screenings, you're getting such slim pickings to try and find a showing to go to.
And do you know what? Since this is a review of
that was pretty
2022
good
film,
compared to a lot of others.
what a lovely point to finish on. Cinemas need to stop booking out whole days for massive, for massive
Marvel.
mega money movies.
Yeah.
Like Top Gun Maverick is a cinema film, and you go and you just enjoy it. But like that literally was on at least once for about 6 months.
There's enough opportunity to try and promote the smaller films as well, and give smaller companies and smaller productions more opportunity to put their films out there. Because I've watched 45 bloody films, but there's another 15 that I've not been able to watch due to absolutely shambolic bookings of cinemas. And even like there's 3 around us, 3 big ones, well 2 big ones anyway, and another small one a little bit further on anyway, and there's non-existent. Like it's the
amount of
same thing
films.
over and over again. What am I looking at?
Even these ones that were billed as like quite or promoted quite well, let's say, like Emily, for example. Oh my god, we literally had to wait like a good 2 or 3 months.
I thought
after
it had
release
gone, and then it
for them to go, oh, all the card holders, we're doing a special.
Oh
Monday
no!
night showing or
No, it
something.
was the other way around. Like that was one of the only showings we saw for it. Then it seemed to be dead.
Oh right,
They
okay.
played it a couple of times,
Well,
maybe.
there's a couple of other films,
Honestly.
let's
And
say.
then-
But it's like everything everywhere all at once. Like we've talked about them, how much it was marketed, promoted. The place in which we go to watch films, because we have a membership with them, they had a special screening, and then they didn't show the actual film until like 2 weeks after the release. So I had to go somewhere else to watch it.
Yeah, we caught it quite late. I really didn't.
Yeah,
in the
big,
end.
and it was absolutely ridiculous, and it's annoyed me. And you've spoke about it quite a lot. We've spoke about it quite a lot. I think 2023. I know it won't happen, but I'd like for them to give opportunities to smaller productions.
And I think that one's sort of
films.
leading the way this year. Of
Definitely.
that is a good sign of stuff like that because it's got so much backing behind it and everyone winning all the awards for it. It's like, yes, okay, we're heading in the right direction, but we need to see so much more of that.
I agree, 100%.
Annoyingly, it's when you get to this, it always comes down to it's down to us because these big things aren't going to do it. It's like people have got to be the ones to just be like, I'm going to spend my money here rather than spending my money on all these these massive ones that are always going to get the attention anyway. But it would be ideal if the big decision makers actually changed.
No, I agree.
But yeah, so like movies that you've like missed, it's like, I mean, now we can't say it, but it's like we've managed to catch up on a few, but so like Disney Plus have just had The Banshees of Inisherin. And I haven't caught that before doing this video, but it's like,
unfortunately,
how do I know that's not going to be in my top 3? So it's like we've done this top 3, but there's space.
There's still a lot.
So many that missed out.
It's a lot we've missed. And again, we're people that have full-time jobs at the end of the day, and we work hard to try and fit it in and have these conversations because we love having them. But sometimes it just doesn't allow us to experience everything that we do.
It's just frustrating, really.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Off the top of anyone's head, has anyone got anything exciting for this year that you're looking forward to?
I'm going to be honest, because 2022's been so full on, I've not had much time to sit and process what's happening in 2023.
You know what? I literally thought of this the other day, and now you've asked me, it's completely gone out of my head now.
Oppenheimer is I'm excited
that
for
looks pretty cool.
because Christopher Nolan and the casting of that looks absolutely sensational.
Seems a given.
The Wonka film with Timothy Chalamet is another film that I'm.
Did not know
Dune
that was
2,
a definite.
Dune 2's out.
Dune
at the end
2
of the
is
year,
out
innit?
as well.
That's going to be
literally just lovely segue. Yeah, so there's 3 films that I'm excited for. You've also got
Definitely looking for
this year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as
Is it?
superhero
Is that this year? Oh right, okay.
films go,
I think it is.
sequel to the best Spider-Man film,
Oh,
Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay, yeah. I'm
Um,
betting that might take my top.
I was
spot
just
this year.
about to say that will probably be the best film of the year in my opinion.
That's
That is how you do a Spider-Man film, how you do an animation, and how you
that
Beautiful,
trailer
I'm
was
getting
just so
goosebumps
good.
thinking about it.
You got
Whoa.
Oscar right at the end.
So
His
you've got
voice
Oscar
on
in there
that.
for you as well,
Yeah, but come on, like his voice at the end of that, it's like Batman growl. That was like tense.
No, good shout, that Thomas. Good shout, actually. Not, and again, because we've been so involved with 2022, it's like not had a chance to process anything that's sort of happened. Like even Megan, for God's sake, we're all talking about it. None of us.
I will probably go and
just
catch
yet.
that in the next week or two, just to terrify myself.
Yeah. Look, again, looks
That's the
good.
only
Though.
film I know that's
Babylon's
Yeah.
coming out this month as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. That looks just.
That's always
absolute
one of those
batshit.
weird ones because there's always a
Oh,
massive
there's
film
another
like
one.
that
Yeah.
turns
There's
up for
another
like
one.
award season, but no one else gets to
That
see
one I
it.
think will be alright.
But yeah, there are films. Do you know what? I think we should do that. I think we should have a little video of 2023. What we're sort of.
There is going to be a lot.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot,
What
and
we
it's
started with and what we're looking forward to.
yeah. I
There
like
we go.
that. I like that. I
We
think
have
that'd be a
caught
good
couple
shout.
of things in the past week.
Yeah,
or so.
I agree. And before we wrap it up,
Mm-hmm.
so we are towards the end. A couple honourable mentions of films that not made it into our top 3 or bottom 3. It doesn't mean they're bad films. We've just really not had a chance to fit them into the video. And a few that I want to mention is the Black Phone. I thought was sensational.
Singing that praise.
I just wanted more of it. I felt like they could have developed the story even more. Ethan Hawke plays an absolute superb part. Top Gun Maverick, I feel like has to have a mention because of how successful it was, and it is a brilliant sequel in my opinion. And Nope,
Yeah,
it's
there's
another
going to
film
be.
that we all enjoyed.
I mean-
well, us 3
Yeah.
enjoyed. Matt's not got to catch it yet.
Missing out.
Pinocchio, directed by Guillermo del Toro,
is
we've
class.
mentioned briefly, sensational, and
Glass Onion.
Glass Onion, superb. Ryan Johnson, unbelievable job. And there's one thing that I want to draw attention to that isn't Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, but we'll mention that anyway because that is the only film that Marvel released that was any good.
Yeah.
It's probably the best thing that was released. It's not a film, but it's a play that was shown in the
I
Odeon,
was gonna. Yeah.
and it's prima facie. I've done a review of it individually because I was the only one who watched it at the time, and I got it out as soon as possible. Inspirational.
Yeah. Seeing that sort of theatre set up in a
Amazing.
cinema as well was
Insightful.
Well,
and
the,
it really,
the translation of that, because you
Yeah.
just think for it to hit as hard, well, not.
I say I don't feel like
To-
you lost anything.
You think
No.
like how mad it would have been seeing it in person, because
but nothing. None of the messages were lost from
No,
that
that's what I'm
translation
saying.
into film. The production of it's sensational. It was so hard hitting and eye opening. I feel like from putting the review out there that we've done, it's got a lot of views, a lot of comments, and even the TikTok video I did, a lot of views, a lot of comments. It's something that went under the radar a bit in my opinion.
It's
It wasn't
again,
talked
yeah.
about enough, but even still is very popular. And if you haven't seen it, get to see it. It'll be on the National Theatre Live.
If you didn't already know Jodie Comer is an absolute powerhouse, the way
Unreal.
her performance in this and the way she translates the story as just that one person on stage is incredible.
I think that's what makes it so effective as well.
It's when you're watching it and then you realise. I literally realised halfway through. I was like, she's the only one that's been in this.
it's incredible. And
Oh,
I want to finish the video there. I don't want to talk about anything else
not fair enough.
Yeah.
because I
Makes
don't
sense.
think
Yeah.
it warrants anything. We hope you've enjoyed that. That's been our review of 2022, best 3, worst 3 of film. Of film. There is another one coming shortly that will involve the television and series, because ultimately not much is released on bloody TV anymore, is it?
I don't
It's
watch
all on-
normal TV.
No, it's all on streaming platforms, so we'll call it TV/series sort of jobby. But yeah, see you in that one. Au revoir.
Bye.